I know your dad passed away when you were 3 years old.
I was 3 years old. My sister and I heard a loud thump. We walked downstairs. This was like early, probably 2:30, 3 in the morning. Lights came on and he was by the lamp, just taking his last breath.
From New Orleans, with the Forstalls. This is Local Legends. One-on-one conversations with some of New Orleans' most exciting and influential business owners, entrepreneurs, movers, and shakers. They're here to give their take on all things going down in the Big Easy.
What's up, New Orleans? Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Forstall, and today's very special segment of Local Legends, we are joined by someone who has made a powerful difference in New Orleans through purpose, leadership, and service. He is the founder of Son of a Saint, an incredible mentorship organization dedicated to supporting young men growing up without fathers and helping guide them towards strong, successful futures. Sonny Lee, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're really making an impact
in
the community in New Orleans, and I really respect it. And we're going to get all into that. But first, I want to go way back to 10-year-old or young Sonny. What was he like?
I'm getting hot here. I'm gonna have to take off my glasses and my jacket, actually, because 10-year-old Sonny was, I think really into sports, right? So I was an athlete. I was playing baseball. I had great friendships. I was over at Resurrection of Our Lord, New Orleans East. But I was a little mischievous, my mom would say. I wasn't getting into major problems, but, I wouldn't listen or, some of those little challenges that I had.
Just being a kid?
Being a kid, man. That's all it was, and my mom trying to raise a boy by single, mom. So, I was always interested in, the sports and the street, also animals. I loved animals. I actually wanted to be a veterinarian, so that's when I kind of started really loving animals around that time too. So it was pretty cool.
And you had brothers and sisters?
Yes, I had an older sister, Tamika Lee.
Tamika Lee,
I think she was on here, right?
So she was, yes. This is the first time, just so you know, this is the first time I've had brother and sister combo on the podcast. So your sister was actually my first guest. She's awesome. So glad to have you on.
She's great.
She is great. So she was your older sister?
Yeah. Make sure everybody got that. So she's a couple years older than me. And, she normal stuff she did. She picked on me, and but we're very close, right? Extremely close.
I know your dad passed away when you were 3 years old.
I was 3 years old, yeah.
So a lot of your childhood, you remember just being you, mom, and sister?
Yes, that's it. As far as in the house, my dad, he passed literally in front of us, both of us. I was 3, my sister was 5 years old. And my sister and I heard a loud thump. We walked downstairs. This was early morning. Probably 2:30, 3 in the morning. Lights came on and he was by the lamp, just taking his last breath. I didn't always know what was going on, right?
I was
3
years
old.
Yeah.
I didn't know. And I'm sure my sister took it a lot different than I did.
At 5, yeah.
But just being a girl, having that memory, I think one of the important things that my mom did was she put me in therapy at age 6. So, I'm fast forwarding a few years, but that was very impactful for the work I'm doing even right now, right? I think my mom thought, okay, well, Sonny's going to need this sort of guidance and therapy, being a boy, missing dad. Where my sister didn't have that same thing because she had mom, right? But I think just because of the work I'm in now, it's very good if you see, having the traumatic experience, I guess, really giving as much support you can to both kids. But my sister and I had a great upbringing. Education was preached. We went to church, faith, and had great experiences. Great friendships, loving family. So outside of that absence, we really had everything that we could have wanted. That absence of dad was definitely there. And, he was a former NFL player. So, these stories kind of, everybody was talking about former teammates. The family's kind of this larger than life guy, I guess, how big he was and, how he dressed and how funny he was, and he was the life of the party, a lot like my sister.
Yeah,
Tamika,
that's where
right?
she gets it
that's
from.
where she gets it from.
So dad wasn't playing when he passed away? Or was
he played 71 to 75 for those 5 seasons, and then I was born in 81. He died in 84.
I'm a father. I got 2
Mhm.
kids. I know that my girls are coming to me for certain questions that
Absolutely.
they're not going to mom with.
Right, exactly.
You know, so like in your situation, how do you? I guess what did you do? Like, did you have someone you went to? Did you just ask everything your mom?
Yeah. So it was my uncle Warmith, my mom's brother, was active in my life. He was a lot the disciplinarian.
Gotcha.
He worked a lot. He had a big job. So, you know, he wouldn't always come to my games and stuff, but when I was acting up,
Gotcha.
you know, I got the
He
belt
showed up,
or
yep.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
And you know, those things were there and he had those tough conversations with me. So I owe a lot to him. I mean, he's really the model when I look at a male, you know what I mean? Like for a long time, he was that person for me, you know?
Sure.
A lot of my friends had fathers, right? So their dads really became father figures to me too, right? And so I learned things from my friends because they were taught by their fathers. And my baseball coaches as well, you know, whether it be traveling, Coach Rudy, I mean, like all that was, it was great, you know.
Do you feel like because you lost your father, that the community, you know, your coach, your friends' fathers, they chipped in? They were actually like being proactive and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know that just by the conversations, looking back on the conversations that we were having, and that's very important to do now. I mean, we need that. I mean, boys need it, just like, you know, girls are growing up without their moms or necessarily fathers or whoever. I mean, if they don't have the parents, I mean, the community, you know, extended family stepping up really helps that child, obviously. So, you know, for me, I did have like challenges when I was, you know, 13, 14, trying to just figure out certain situations, you know. When I was in 7th grade, I was at Holy Cross, and I had some challenges there, right? There were, you know, I remember getting called some names that weren't the
Gotcha.
best.
Mm-hmm.
And got in some fights and got expelled pretty quickly. Like I was like 2-3 months in, I got expelled.
What, in 8th grade?
7th grade.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I was there for like 3 months.
Gotcha. You didn't waste any time.
I didn't waste any time. I got in 4 fights. They got in 1 fight with me, but you know, I was like, well, I'm the one that's being picked on. I'm the one that's being called, you know, these names and stuff like that. And that was pivotal because, you know, had I had dad there, right,
Mm-hmm.
that could really address, like, show me how to navigate these things and conflict with other males, that would have helped me a lot, or stood up for me in a way that I needed at the time, right? And it was really my mom, but you know, my mom was going through her own thing. She was,
Sure.
you know, she still loves my dad to this day.
Mm.
I mean, so she was mourning still his loss at that time, right? And she has some health issues. She has multiple sclerosis, so she was challenged with that. And like I said, my uncle was working a lot, but he was there to discipline me. But that absence of a father was critical at that time. It was me, my mom, and my sister at the house.
All
it was
girls.
all, yeah, exactly. So, and my sister's friends, right? And my mom's friends. So my mom never remarried. You know, she tried to date here and there, but it wasn't. She never had anybody over at the house sleeping by another male or anything. So it was like us. It's funny. I never heard my mom argue with another male before. Like I never heard her. She doesn't curse. Like none of that. It was very like, you know, calm environment. You know, I mean, I could tell you how to do a floor arrangement in 2 seconds.
Right.
No, like I mean, it was just you know, I watch a lot of, you know, there's a lot of like the what's that, soap opera, I guess, or whatever. Like, you know, I mean, that was on. But when it came to, you know, the you know, just being a boy. I mean, I was out in the streets too. Like, don't get me wrong, I was in the neighborhood, like, you know, doing a lot of sports and stuff like that. But there is a side that you do miss, like, you know, knowing about tools. And like, I didn't build anything when I was growing up, you know, and knowing where, you know, so I remember like in my 20s, and, you know, we can get that too, but it was just like trying to figure out, you know, the tools, and like going to Lowe's
Something
or Home
so
Depot,
simple
like something simple
that I take for granted.
that
Like
you
my
take
dad
for
taught me
granted.
all that stuff.
Exactly.
And I don't even think of that. He taught me.
I was actually just thinking of it as I said it, right? I mean, the stuff, the conversations that y'all had, some things that you think a boy would just automatically know how to, and like how to bounce back from things, you know? I mean, there's a lot of things that I had to learn on my own.
There's so many times, there's so many things that, you know, I don't even think about who I'm going to ask. It just goes straight to him because he's my dad.
That gives you an advantage, I guess, in a way, from a kid who doesn't have a father, right? And not, I mean, it's not bad. I'm just saying, like, that's what it is. When you have to analyze, so you already know what the answer is and how you steer away. As a boy without a father, he's kind of sitting there like, what do I do? How do I, and you take the wrong route. And that's how a lot of boys growing up without their fathers, and especially if you add on some other challenging situations, make the wrong decisions, right? So,
the wrong community, the wrong people, the wrong setting.
Absolutely.
There's so many ways, so many pathways to get to the wrong side of the road.
And if you don't identify it and sometimes learn from your mistake, you go even further down the wrong path.
Exactly. And a lot of people, a lot of kids don't even know that they're going down this path because they're they're innocent.
They're innocent. Yeah.
So before founding Son of a Saint, you had a remarkable career working with the Zephyrs,
Saints,
Saints, Tom Benson, all that. Yeah. How did those experiences shape you, the man you become, the leader?
Well, when I was at UNO, went to school. I remember I got my first internship. I was playing basketball, and I played like Dennis Rodman, like something like crazy.
What?
Yeah, I'm not that good. But I played. I'm like aggressive. I'm like center. Even I'm 6'3", somewhere else I'd be point guard. But in rec ball, you get kind of down low.
That's true.
And I remember there was a guy on the other team who. He was the head of the Zephyrs, basically. He was director of ops for the Zephyrs. And we wound up beating him, and he came after the game. He was like, man, if you work as hard as you play, I want you on my team. I want to give you I want to interview you for an internship, right?
You had never met him before?
Never met him before, right? Wow. So this is just right. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And so I went on that. This is my senior year. So I went out on the interview, got the job. I was working in ops. This was after Katrina. So, it's kind of, bringing the stadium back and things like that.
Community
and
back,
so working with him and a guy named Todd, who was great. I loved that. But anyway, that was a great time, the Zephyrs. You hear people say their first job was like the best one. It was great because I got exposure to a lot. It was baseball. Going to a ball game is so fun, you know what I mean? And it was that all the time. And I was learning.
Is it something that you wanted to do or something you kind of
It was just something I fell into, I didn't really, I was going to school for business, just general business, and with a focus in sort of like the marketing side and management of things. But this was really cool to have that opportunity to work for a baseball team, right? And I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the older guys there. So in the locker room and talking crap to each other and all this. It was what I needed, right? Because growing up without pops and like having, so like even down to the police officers that would come to the game. I remember Pops. It was one of them. His name, we called him Pops. He's passed since, but like all the police officers would be sitting in a conference room just playing cards or talking crap to each other.
That male camaraderie.
Yeah, and I'd go in there and talk to him. So that was a great experience. And then going to work over with the Saints, which was a great, obviously working for the ownership there was really awesome for 3 years. And I would credit, that experience a lot with just seeing the world because it was a lot of travel. It was, sort of the best of the best, really. You're working for a professional team.
Were you traveling with them on all the games and stuff?
Traveling everywhere and, being trusted and, all of that. So it was a great experience. For me, I was 24 at the time. To me, Tom Benson was, he was probably in his 80s at the time. So, not having dad, and having that I don't know how you view me, I guess, as far as, maybe being, working there and things like that. But for me, it was extremely impactful.
So you felt like you found more of your identity through that position?
Correct. Yeah. And it was being developed, right? Like I was still young, a young man. So like it was, the things I was building on already that I had from family, from my first work experience, from college and everything. And just, even more like firming that who is Sonny going to be as a man? Because of that. And that's kind of why I said a little earlier, and I don't know if advantage is the right word, but just kind of like I guess like a little step. Having your dad, you have that person that can help you throughout the way. But like for me, I may have had to look at the test a little longer, right? Or what was in front of me, analyze it a little bit more. And after I made a decision, is it the right decision? So doubting myself a little bit more, right? Which can delay a lot, which conditioned you over time to be a doubtful person. And then so it does delay you. I'm 44, I've accomplished a lot, and I still feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. So it's like, it just,
Gotcha.
because it's conditioned in me, you know what I mean? And not everybody growing up without their dad feels that way, but just for me, that's how and it would be somewhat common too for others.
That's amazing. I think you hit it because it makes sense. Like, just like the tools.
Right.
Like my dad taught me my tool. Taught me how to use tools.
Yeah.
And that's something I take for granted. And the fact that nobody taught you how to use tools or whatever sets you back just a little more. And those little things start to add
up. Yeah. And my wife looks at me and said, go fix that. I'm like, oh, geez, who am I going to call, right? Like, so I'm like, I got a delayed reaction. I'm like, and now she's just like, yeah, Sonny's not going to fix it. I'll call my dad. No, dad lives in New York. So she's FaceTiming him on how to fix something. I'm just sitting there like, man, this is.
I bet you hate that.
I'm over it now. I'm like, yeah, dad, go fix that.
Are you conditioned to that too?
Yeah, I mean, it's all good. I mean, but there's certain things I've had to learn on my own, right? Like, I mean, small grilling. Like we didn't grill. Like
think about that.
Yeah,
right?
You don't think about that. So like growing up, we didn't grill. My mom cooked, and like, we had a sort of schedule. So grilling. I mean, you name it. Fishing. I didn't catch my first fish until I started Son of a Saint. So that was
wow.
Yeah, and actually, we were in Son of a Saint. I caught my first fish from like our chairman on our board. Was the first fish I caught as an adult. That wasn't too long ago, right?
Right, it was,
and so now we have a fishing program. But,
nice.
Some of these things that you would think are basic lessons, like, teach a kid or teach somebody how to fish, versus just doing it for them. Yeah. So some of those things, just didn't have.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go home and I'm going to write down all the things I teach my daughter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to think about if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It'd
be amazing.
Way more than I think.
A lot more. A lot more, yeah.
That's profound.
Yeah.
That's profound. So let's fast forward to 2010, 2011. Paint the picture for me, set the scene.
I saw on NOLA.com there was a boy that murdered another boy. It was 2 lives destroyed, obviously. Did some research. They lost their fathers. And I was like, how do I support these kids, right, on a preventative way so that they're not having to go through this, right? I mean, we're both growing up without our fathers. One's in a bad situation because of, maybe whether it's poverty, lack of education, other challenges that they had in the environment that they're around. That environment is no fault to them. This is the cards they're dealt, right? They're being born with these challenges, like I was born into mine. And so I was like, well, how do we help them play the cards that they're dealt? That's all it was, and it's just like, what do we do on as early as possible to help support these young men, right? And that's kind of how Son of a Saint was founded. I was just tired. I was tired of murders in New Orleans. I was just tired of young boys, specifically Black boys, being in the paper and like for the same crime, right? I was like, I'm a Black male. How was I so fortunate to have this life? It wasn't more complex than that, right? It was just like really simple. Yeah,
right.
they were really
But
simple.
I guess like what, because you saw an issue, you saw that there wasn't a solution.
Right.
You created the solution.
Right. I had friends who supported me. That was the first thing. And I was able to share what my vision was, and they got on board. And one particular person, his name is Ola. And Ola was over at the University of New Orleans. He's now our CFO at Son of a Saint, but he was over at UNO and the associate athletic director there. And so he gave us space, right? Like he gave us space every Saturday to go teach the boys about manners, how to treat women, all those things, right? And I got my first boys just by going to the park and tapping a coach on the shoulder and introducing myself and saying I wanted to start mentoring kids. That's how I got my first 5 boys literally at the park. So I had some of the kids, roughly 5 boys. I had a place to do the work and mentor them. I had some friends that would sort of come help me in delivering that message. And so that was like the first year of Son of a Saint.
So obviously this whole organization was your vision.
Yeah.
You said you had some friends that, that helped you along the way? What were some of those early struggles that you had on?
I had to figure out the model, like how long are we going to be specifically with these young men, right? Because I didn't want it to be just a pairing model. I didn't want it to be like, okay, the boys are going to do this for a year or two and then that's it, right? Because you got to stick with them for lifelong. So it was sort of figuring out the model, right?
Was the model you're talking about more common in the mentorship program, and you said this is not working and I want to change it?
Yeah, it was not common. The wraparound full services, like, and also the type of boy that we were accepting. So the boys join between age 10 and 12. So you have a lot of groups that select any. I mean, it could be 8 to 18, whatever that number is.
Okay.
So there's a larger, pool, I guess.
Yeah.
For us, the model is like a specific age range. I knew I wanted everything that I got from my mom. So like the mental health services, we had to outsource a lot of that though. And I'm sort of fast forwarding from the early days. I mean, but a year or two later, like the mental health was important, that I realized early on that these boys need mental health like I received. I saw counts from 6 to adulthood, tutoring and education. So like we had to put all that in-house. The transportation, because you can't get boys to and from activities, then they're not going to, it's not going to work, right? The food, then you got the business stuff, the insurances, the liability, all of that. You got the business side. So, I mean, this was really, truly grassroots. This wasn't like, okay, we're going to form this organization and we're going to have all these board members and we have all this seed money and we know where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, right? It was just kind of like, let's just do it, action. And that, which is one of our core values, just action, is doing it, right? It's better than just sitting back and having all that. You know what I mean? So, because we have all the studies in the world to tell us what we need to do, but we don't have the people to actually do it, right?
Sometimes that's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part.
It sounds like a lot of what your boys need is stuff that you went through. That you're taking your own personal experience to, frame the structure that they get the care that they need.
Absolutely. Yeah, and a big part of it is like we don't kick boys out of the program. Like we have great results, but we don't. They're going to go through challenges, and it's just like a father and his son. Is his son just gonna, is the father just gonna kick his son out of the family? That's not. So by having that relationship with them early and building that trust, we're in a much better place when they're 14, 15, 16 than if they were just coming in at 16.
What was it? I know it has probably a lot to do with your core values as a child with your, mom bringing through community service and all that. But, what really was keeping you driving and saying, that's my vision and I'm going to get it?
It's therapy for me. It's seeing, catching my first fish too, right? I'm seeing the boy catch it. We're sitting there both like, oh man, look how cool this is, So that's one, because I'm learning throughout the journey as well. I think two is the promise to the boys, because once they're in and I had that relationship with them, I can't leave them, right? I mean, that's probably primary, to be honest with you. We have a commitment. We're in this together, and we're going to ride it out.
So what makes Son of a Saint a little different than the other mentorship programs?
Each boy has a case team. They have a case manager, mental health specialist, education coordinator, mentor, and they have about 50 activities a month they can choose from. They can go with their mentor. They can go on their own, depending on what age it is. So I do think it's that case team model. We have 4 different case teams, which is super supportive for the boys. Over the summer, about 100 or so of our boys aged 10 or 14 go to camps across the country, right? So they go to New Hampshire, Asheville, North Carolina, Denver, Indianapolis, you name it. And they're going to these camps where we're 95% of our boys are boys of color, and like they're going there and like they're the only ones there sometimes. And, but they're going with maybe a buddy from the school. But these are to grow them, right? It's not necessarily the racial mix is what I'm trying to focus on more. It's really like just giving you the environment that like is different from New Orleans, right? Like it's just a different experience to allow them to grow.
Yeah, I think that I agree. That's extremely important. I remember my father, he told me when I was young, I have to go away to college. And I said, well, why is that? I have to go far, far away. Yeah. And the whole reason was because to push you outside of your comfort zone. Yep. So I applaud that because that's exactly what you're doing. You're pushing them outside of the comfort zone. The case teams versus just mentors.
Yep.
Does that mean that you have more people working for your kids, like per kid, I guess you could say, or is it just structured differently?
I mean, we have a lot of kids.
Gotcha.
Obviously, we
How
have
many-
several
how many
hundred.
kids do we have?
So it's broken down. We have 700 boys that we're serving. We have 300, which are our core kids. Those 300 are the ones in those case teams, right? Like they're getting the full support. And then we have another 400 that we're able to support to go to tuition-based schools through a special relationship we have with Department of Education, essentially where somebody could turn their state tax liability into tuition for kids. So like instead of paying the state, they could pay for kids' tuition. So
That sounds awesome.
yeah, that's 400 and growing. And so each boy gets about $5,000 towards that school. It's not that we don't want them to go to a charter public school or anything else. It's just that we have this opportunity and we want to be able to support, because I can tell you it's helped a lot of our boys get through, like going to some of these schools. It's helped them tremendously. So yeah, I mean, I think it's that the boy has so many people that are around him that understand his situation and that he can turn to.
What's your high school graduation rate?
We're at 100%.
100%.
100%, yeah. So
Damn,
we
That's
are
impressive.
we are extremely proud of that. 80% of our boys are going to college, 20 to workforce. We actually had a couple go to military actually last couple of years, but we focus on college success too. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what the boys go through, what
Yeah.
their experiences,
Yeah, so a guardian will, usually a mom and a grandmother will apply a boy to a program. We take applications, towards the end of the year. Depending on our funding is how many boys we can accept. And once they're accepted, they're with us forever. Yeah, pretty
Gotcha.
much. But we get about 100 applicants a year. We usually take between 30 to 50. First 6 months, you usually like just orientate, getting used to the program, getting your evaluations from our team on what are your needs. And you'll find out of like that group, you'll have some that, may not need as much, but may need just a mental health or just, you know what I mean? And you have the middle group that need 2 or 3 things out of
Sure.
there. And then you have that small group that needs everything and it's taking up a lot of the time. But these are the ones that you want to focus on, right? They'll get paired with a mentor, ideally, throughout that time. And then they'll just kind of go along. And there's different focus. Like the younger boys, they're really, I'd say 10 to 14, those boys, they're coming to activities all the time. They're going to, the culinary at the office. We have a comedy club. We have karate. We have STEM. We have music, literally music classes. I mean,
Wow.
you got they're really high into, and we also have rec. So we partner with other groups to where our boys are in, football, soccer, whatever it is, sailing, right? So those are like really high into the activity side.
And so the ones that are high in the activity side, are they coming by 5-7 days a
Yeah,
week?
it could be 2-3 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have
Gotcha.
some boys that come our office is closed on Friday. I got to get my staff off sometimes. So
I get you.
they,
Yeah.
Monday through Thursday, and then Saturdays, there's a lot of activities
Sure.
outside the building too. So you might have a boy that's in there, 2, maybe 3 times a week. It just really depends. You might have a boy in there every day, or one that comes every other week.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. You're like the New Orleans father.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
There
really
you go.
awesome. Really
Yeah,
awesome. So
appreciate
what's the future look like for Son of a Saint?
We really have to ensure that we're going to be around for a long time. So, we started a foundation, so an endowment essentially, with some seed support from a gentleman out of New York who's been very close to us. And so we started that. So we hope to build that so that, the interest from that can help support Son of a Saint. We can be around long after all of us are gone if,
Right.
in case boys need that support. But there's that. 40% of our boys live in New Orleans East, so we have a strong interest in sort of building something out there, going to the East, similar to our building here in Mid-City that we have to help support them. So I would say those 2 things are sort of primary, outside of raising money that we normally have to do throughout
that's
the
step
year.
1, right? We got to raise money.
Well, you got to. It's interesting. You kind of have to do all 3 at the same time, and from a donor's perspective, you never know which one they may want to give to, right? So some of them they understand foundation endowment, they have the capacity to do it. That's what they want to give to. Some it's sort of your general operating, and then you have others that like the capital projects, right? And so all 3 of them are needs for us.
Right.
And so it's just really talking through those different things.
Well, that'll about do it for today. So if you liked this show or like the podcast, you got anything value out of it, give us 5 stars and check back next week.
There you go.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
From NOLA with the Forstalls is presented by Jonathan and Chip Forstall. Executive producer, Mona Lisa Johnson, Sierra Media Productions. Host, Jonathan Forstall. Casting director, Jonathan Thomas, Ascension Branding and Marketing. Post-production editor and voiceover talent, Matt Pawlowski, Redline Studios in New York City. Produced by Ascension Branding and Marketing and Sierra Media Productions. Thanks for listening.